Hi there, welcome to Terrorland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Sagittarius energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Sagittarius. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius. We've all got our dualistic nature and we have to make decisions in our life. And we all do in our Sagittarius energy. Sagittarius can be about higher learning and philosophy and looking at life as an adventure to be lived, where you go on these adventures to learn all these lessons, and hopefully if you learn lessons along the way and you heal and grow and mature yourself, you keep looking at life as an adventure to be lived, and just keep learning lessons along the way. We come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And hopefully when we see that something isn't aligned with our truth, like we don't think that's just and fair, we think that's maybe immature or bossy or controlling or prideful or stubborn, we see that within ourselves and we grow up and mature ourselves. And if we see other people kind of acting in some energies that we've kind of outgrown in some way, we kind of keep our distance from them to get in relationship with people who we think have learned those lessons. The bottom row can also represent our comfort zone, and, to move forward in life a little differently, we might have to work through how we might harness these cards in a more worldly, shadowy way of just wanting to stay in our comfort zone and the fear of trying something new. Since there's so fewer cards up in the top row, we're going to kind of take a look at that, but kind of ends up going all over the place. But the people who, we all repeat patterns, and we'll all keep repeating a certain pattern until we kind of learn the lesson and kind of see that, oh my gosh, that's the Fool card, I keep doing this and it keeps not working out the way I want, or I've done it enough that I'm just kind of not interested in doing it anymore. And then we take that leap of faith to up here. We have the Queen of Wands. The feminine cards can talk about how we think and feel. The masculine cards, generally that does depict a male, and that can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world and action that we're taking. And primarily this is associated with Aries energy, which is fire sign energy. It also has some Aquarius and Pisces in it, and all three of those signs can kind of have to do with the dreams that we have for our life. And all of us, for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, I think, we can really be heavily influenced by the world and our past, kind of having these ways of viewing life that kind of get so impacted by our friend group, our family, the world, and kind of afraid to really live our more authentic life in high vibe Leo. A more shadowy Leo that we could have harnessed is, again, kind of being in our ego, really haven't come into our own, so manipulated to different degrees by our own ego, our own fear, the world. And then we kind of get inspired in our fire sign energy, both Aries and Leo, our fire sign energy, to kind of be inspired to give birth to something new is what the Empress can talk about. And it's Libra and Taurus, which Libra is represented by the scales of justice, of wanting to get the justice we deserve in the world. And we maybe weren't willing to do that before, this process of harnessing a more high vibrational Leo energy within ourselves. We kind of got to come into our own and, we got a lot of lessons to learn. And so we'll go on this journey of learning all these lessons at all these different stages of life and ages of life. We face our fears, we kind of move to that next phase of life, and then we go to that phase of life, and then we can stay there for a while in our comfort zone, and then we kind of listen and get inspired to go to the next phase of life, and then we work through this to go up there, and then we give birth to the next phase of life, just like we did when we went from age 18 to 21 to 25. We kind of work through our fear of believing in ourselves. We believe we can do it. We shed that old layer and some of those old habits and patterns and ways of viewing life, and hopefully love and believe in ourselves. I view high vibe Leo as loving and believing in yourself, and the Empress in High Vibe talks about love. And with Libra being air sign energy of the mind, which is kind of like our truth, and Taurus energy is our own philosophy of life. Again, as we go through these different phases of life, we get more clear about what our truth is. In Taurus energy, which this is Libra and Taurus, we can meet all these different people and all the different ways that they view life and what they think is just and fair and what motivates and inspires them and what their truth is. And we get more and more clear about what our truth is. And, you know, everybody's at different stages of that. And there's people further ahead the road of life than we are. There's people further back on the path of life. If you were to look at it that way, of how many things have you freed yourself from, because the bottom row, again, can kind of represent these things that manipulate us inside of us and outside of us. And, you know, we're all on our own journey, too, is what the Fool talks about. And with it also kind of being Aquarius and Pisces, our idea of the dream life and what we find emotionally fulfilling. And everybody's different, you know, and everybody has the free will to manifest what they want to manifest in their life. And it's just, again, we can know some people that we could think, why do they live their life like that? There could be people we think we're living our life just fine, and there could be people thinking, why do they live their life like that? You know? I mean, I guess, I'm sure you get it. So, let's go look at the reason for the top rose reading, which isn't showing itself right now. And a big thing that can be a difference between being in a more shadowy or worldly energy versus a more high vibrational energy is that just like us at any phase of life we've been at, and we're like, hey, I'm living the dream, you know, we could know other people, and right now, you in relationship to some other people, you could be one of those people that when we're kind of living our life a certain way and we're like, hey, this is great, you know, everybody should be living their life like this. And we might know people that seem more balanced and stable, more grounded, Libra, Taurus, maybe more confident or creative and inspired within themselves, maybe more confident within themselves. And at any stage of life we're at, and other people in relationship to us, sometimes, you know, we can't understand, how do they do that? You know, what is it they know that I don't know? And high vibe energy is kind of being illuminated to truths that maybe when we were at different stages of life, and other people who are at different stages of life than us don't understand. So that's kind of normal with everyone. You know, we could kind of wonder, wow, how do they do that? And people could wonder that about you. Now, another way that can be read, though, is that sometimes shadowy energy can be where people can be being in denial of the truth, don't want to see the truth. And so it can be about just creating an illusion, like, look, I've healed, I've grown, I'm more confident, I'm more stable, I'm more grounded, I'm more mature. But it's just like a strategy, and they're just creating an illusion. And some of the people in your life that you might know, that you could know, are more about their ego. They could try to present themselves as a more inspired by love and acting with character and integrity and just and fair, but you could have already seen through the illusion, and you know that's not the truth of who they are. So, you know they do create an illusion, and because that can be how they view life, and they could think that's what everybody does. And so they could think you're just creating an illusion. But what they don't know is that you were enlightened to the truth. And if you at one time had harnessed this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way, which we've all had lessons learned. You've been 18, you harnessed this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way at age 18 than hopefully you did at age 25, right? So if you kind of are at a higher vibrational level, more stable, more grounded, more loving, more inspired by love, more bold and brave and confident, more hopeful and believing, some other people in your life aren't those kind of people. And they think you're just creating an illusion. And they do what they do to try to maybe manipulate and control people. And they could think that's what you're trying to do. But that maybe never was the type of person you were to begin with. But you could have harnessed this in a more worldly, shadowy way. That is what made you get in those friendships, relationships, live your life a certain way. But what they don't know is you were enlightened to the truth. Love, you learn to love yourself, because Aries energy is about the self. I view both these cards as learning to love yourself. And you work through a way of being. You don't view life the way you used to view it. You don't think or feel, or are you healed or something, right? What is it? The King of Wands. So the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands would have been, if you'd harness that energy in a more high vibe way, you would have been more balanced within yourself. But also the King of Wands is Aries energy. You, like other people, were inspired to live your life a certain way. And maybe the bottom row can represent that you're kind of tipped out of balance. You're more manipulated by whatever these cards talk about, but it could be more manipulated by the world. You know, in our worldly nature, we are inspired to want to like be in friendship and relationship with people. And there's things that we want to manifest. And if those things previously had more of an influence on you than you maybe would have liked, or that you realized, you could have kind of been more manipulated. And the masculine cards can represent that we were more manipulated in our worldly egoic nature. And you, like other human beings, were kind of caught up in some of these things of the world. And you could have let those things kind of more manipulate you, that you wanted and were attracted and had these lessons to learn. And during that process, you could have been inspired within yourself to get more balanced within yourself. And you wanted more inspired by truth and love and just and fair and character and integrity relationships. And you could have went on some experiences with some people. And it could have been, you always can be a person who's inspired by love. And then you could think everybody's motivated and inspired by love. And kind of as you go on this journey, you could realize in a world of duality and free will that there's some people who don't want to do love. You can get hurt doing love. I want to be in a relationship with you. I'll stay in a relationship with you. I can enjoy the relationship with you. But you have to come out from behind your ego nature to do love, to be authentic, and be willing to do love. And you'd also have to be illuminated to the truth and see how you repeat certain patterns. And again, we'll all repeat certain patterns until it's like, why do I keep doing this? And this isn't, maybe at one time it seemed to be aligned with my truth. But then as time went by, again, I wanted to be 18 years old. I wanted to be 21 years old. Did I want to stay that way forever? No. I wanted to go on the journey. I wanted to keep moving forward. I wanted to keep growing and maturing myself. I wanted to free myself from some of my baggage and work through it. And sometimes we can get in relationships with some people and they're like, I don't want to work through that stuff. I don't want to deal with the truth. And maybe it's like, let's get in a relationship to be in a relationship. Let's have a job to have a job. Let's be in friendships to have friendships. But maybe they don't want to give birth to anything new. Maybe they are people who don't want to be more authentic, don't want to do a more deep, meaningful relationship. Some of them don't want to be more just and fair, don't want to act with character and integrity. Some of them are more about themselves and self-indulgent. And we could realize that with some of the people that we've been in friendship or relationship with. And we don't want to keep repeating certain patterns. I'm ready to give birth to something new. High vibe people, I think, would communicate with people in their life You know, I could like you, I could love you, I could like this job, but I'm ready to move forward and give birth to something new, either here or doing different things or living life a little different. Who wants to come with? And some of the people in your life said, nope, I'm not motivated and inspired by that. I want to do this still, you know? Or that's just not even my truth. I'm not even motivated and inspired by that. I want to do this. And so we kind of realize with some of the people in our life that the way they harness their fire sign energy maybe and what they think is just and fair and their idea of the dream life and what they find emotionally fulfilling, we no longer do. And so, unless being motivated by your worldly egoic nature, more inspired by maybe kind of with Libra and Taurus and high vibe of the Empress is also looking for an emperor, the counterpart to the Queen of Wands, whether you're male or female, would be a King of Wands. But through this journey of life, you have become an Empress, or you're on your way there, which is the Empress embodies and has learned lessons in all four suits of the deck: the heart, the mind, the 3D nature, the fiery nature. So like the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands. And the Emperor would be someone who has learned all four lessons in the four suits of the deck: the King of Cups, the King of Swords, the King of Pentacles, the King of Wands, and looking for people who are a counterpart to that. And if you truly are like an emperor, which can be male or female, you are making better decisions in your life because of these lessons you've learned. You internally are an empress. And you're listening to your intuition before you take action. You're going on a journey, maybe just kind of getting to know people, but maybe not taking more action towards someone until you kind of feel that it's the just and right time, that your intuition is telling you that those people, male or female, friend, family member, romantic interest, are kind of more on the same page as you. And until, because the feminine figures in high vibe would be you being balanced, your worldly nature, your emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired, loving nature. But I'm not going to take action until my intuition tells me I have found, and that the people I have, it's kind of like they stay in the friend zone. You can know them, you can work with them, but not going to take more action until you feel pretty sure that they are on that same page. So, some people could think in your more egoic nature that you're just trying to create an illusion about the truth of who you are, but they don't realize that you're not taking action more out of ego. You're not creating an illusion. You're not trying to manipulate or control anyone. You're being authentic and motivated and inspired by love and truth and justice and treating other people the way you like to be treated and doing the best that you can at whatever age and stage of life you're at to, act in alignment with your truth. Not wanting to repeat some old patterns. Been there, done that. And so, as some of you did, and as some people are moving forward right now, in order to get to this stage, the Queen of Wands, which I do think the fire sign is kind of the last one, because I think in our fire sign nature, we are, in our heart, in our mind, in our 3D nature, we could want to move forward in life differently. But until we kind of wrap our brain around it, and Sagittarius is fire sign energy, that until we kind of wrap our brain around it and are less manipulated in our more worldly egoic nature, and kind of like our own shadowy nature and ego nature is like, you're like sitting here emotionally like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do this. And you offer truth and love and encouragement to yourself and your more immature, fearful, shadowy nature. And eventually, it's kind of waiting for your own shadow nature and fire sign nature to say, okay, because your own shadow nature tries to tempt you to repeat old patterns. Other people in your life can try to tempt you to repeat old patterns, and you're like, nope, I'm not doing it. I don't care. I am not doing that. And you keep giving yourself love and encouragement that I deserve justice and fairness, and I have a dream and something I want to give birth to. And emotionally, I am doing this work within myself to maintain this position and heal and grow and mature myself. And it's realizing part of it is working through this energy. What is it? The Five of Cups. Well, the Five of Cups is Scorpio energy, water sign. And it's about, we're these emotionally complex human beings. you know, um, we could have a lot of things to work through. Just, could we enjoy some of those people, vices, patterns, ways of living life? Yes, but it's not giving birth to what we want to give birth to. And we know if we keep doing it, it's probably just going to keep ending up, the Five of Cups, where we feel emotionally manipulated, or people being more superficial and shallow, people trying to manipulate us. Like more shadowy people could sit up here in this energy, operating more from a shadowy Leo energy. Anybody can do that. They don't have to be a Leo sun sign. Where they operate more from their ego. And it's like, oh, I don't believe that you'll give birth to anything new. I'm just waiting for you to come back and kind of repeat an old pattern. And you're like, nope, I'm not going to repeat an old pattern. I don't care how attractive you are, how charming you are, how much money you would offer me to stay at that job. I don't like the job. I don't like the people. I don't like the boss. I don't like something about it. I'm not going to... A just and fair and authentic relationship is where you're supposed to treat each other the way you like to be treated. And that's being just and fair and acting with character and integrity. And some people have a little bit of a problem with it. And it can be like, well, no... I kind of think it should be a little bit more about me, or I should be a little bit more indulged. Whether they're a friend or family member or romantic interest, it doesn't matter. And you're like, no, can I be sad? The Five of Cups is they're looking at the Three of Cups. Both the Two of Cups and the Three of Cups is Cancer energy, which is emotional water sign like Scorpio, about love of self, love of others. And it's like, the people in your life who you think try to maybe use your loving nature to emotionally manipulate you, they do maybe live more from their mind than their heart and their ego, and do try to manipulate loving people while they operate from their maybe defensive egoic nature. And it's like, don't you want these things of the world? Don't you want to be in friendship or relationship with me? It's like, yes, I do, but it has to be just and fair. And they're like, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep doing this. Aren't you sad? Aren't you in your ego? Yeah. But I'm going to get out of my ego. I'm going to offer myself love to deal with the truth. Leo, also represented by the Sun card and high vibe, is about dealing with the truth. Every day that some people keep repeating an old pattern and they're not speaking the truth, acting in truth, investing in you, acting with character and integrity, is another day that you work through the emotional confusion that they're not the type of person that you thought they were. And you work, and the bottom row can be just caught up in the illusion. The illusion of thinking someone was just and fair and loving, that they were more mature or more motivated and inspired to work together in a just and fair and loving way, to grow up, mature themselves, and seeing the truth that they're not. And if there's just some people where, we can always know people where it's like, I'm not sure what's going on with them, but something, but they're not being more shadowy. They're just maybe, because of their own life experiences, unwilling to, kind of like you can get along with them well enough, but I don't know, kind of maybe people kind of keep their distance. And it's like, you know what? That's okay. So long as you're not being more immature or shadowy or bossy or controlling, I can respect that I don't know everything going on in your life and what you've experienced in your life. But so long as we can get along, if, you're in my neighborhood, a organization, or a workplace, we can get along, you know, and some of the people, shadowy energy, especially Leo energy of being in our ego. They don't have to be a Leo, but some people could, maybe some people kind of be intimidated by people, male or female, friend or family or coworker, maybe even a little jealous or envious. And, that you just seem more stable or balanced than I do. You seem to have worked through some issues that I haven't worked through. And hopefully, if they're in more high vibe energy, when we see other people doing things that we could kind of admire or respect, that, well, hey, why do I do this? I could do that, but I'd have to probably work through some things that emotionally manipulate me that stop me from doing that. Even if it was something like somebody could be not a more shadowy person, but maybe, whatever, you could kind of look at someone else and like, huh, wow. Like, say somebody goes for a half-mile walk even every day and you don't. I really need to go do that myself because I'm not doing it. But, some people could get more jealous and envious. Other people could be like, huh, why don't I do that? Why don't I kind of more love and believe in myself? And I think I'd feel better. And so then it probably have to work through, why don't I do those things? If I think those things would make me happier and I'd feel more proud of myself and maybe make me feel more balanced in my life, or, instead I could invest too much time in these things instead of those things, and then they'd probably be inspired to work through those things. Okay. But you had to do that within yourself to work through some regrets of the past emotionally. It's kind of like mourning that, mourning the things. And if any of you, whether it's quitting a certain habit or vice or anything that you used to kind of look to kind of indulge yourself in, and you kind of can't indulge yourself or choose not to indulge yourself, at least maybe to that degree that you could have before, it's kind of a mourning process because it was something emotionally that we looked to make us feel better, but we could have realized it was stopping us from giving birth to that next thing we wanted to give birth to. So it's like, no, I need to see the truth of how that's stopping me from moving forward. Kind of need to go through the grieving process. And some people could have lost someone in their life, and just going through the grieving process of that. I don't know what the stages of are, but they kind of talk about the 5 or 7 stages of grief. And part of it can be being sad, being angry, being mad. I would naturally assume, just from some grieving processes I've gone through in my own life, and Scorpio does talk about this emotional confusion. On one hand, we could be glad to be away from certain people or situations because of the way things were. But then if we haven't given birth to something new yet, we can tend to kind of focus too much on that than focusing on, because it starts in our imagination of focusing more on what we want to give birth to as we kind of work through dealing with letting go of something. So then when some people kind of work through that, then they have to work through this card, which is the Ace of Pentacles, which is, bringing it into reality and taking that action. But another way that could be interpreted is that people aren't going to be more manipulated. The pentacle can represent these things of the world. I'm not going to be more manipulated in my more worldly nature. I'm not going to be manipulated more in my ego, and kind of a King of Wands energy that we can all harness, because again, these two cards are Aries energy, which is about the self. And then we have our ego nature that kind of wants us to go indulge ourselves. We'll feel better. Let's go do that. And just like, no, I've already done that enough. It didn't bring me what I wanted. So then it's kind of like being more inspired to listen, maintain balance, to more align with making decisions, letting love and intuition guide you versus your fear, your insecurity, your pain, your heartbreak, your ego, your lust, your greed. And it's like, nope. And as you go through that process, and what some people don't know with these cards not showing themselves, emotionally, you are taking this action within yourself to work through those regrets of the past so that you can have this new beginning. And that you're emotionally working through those things to get to the truth. In high vibe, the pentacle is about truth and love. And you're doing this work within yourself, and for some of you, you already did. And you're just listening to your intuition to know what is the next thing for, kind of like going with the flow of life. Nope, God, I don't shadowy. This can be like, I'm the boss. I'm going to take the steering wheel. And it's like, nope, I've already done that enough in my life. I'm not going to try to force things. High vibe energy is going with the flow. I know these things that motivate and inspire me. I know these things that aren't aligned with that truth. I'm going to keep being inspired within myself, to keep not letting myself repeat poor past patterns, keep being inspired by truth and love, to keep taking action that is in alignment with my truth. And that's what some people don't get about you. Again, they think you're maybe creating an illusion. And it's like, no, this is the truth, and I'm taking action in my truth, and I'm not interested to take action more out of my ego nature. Because when I do, I'm probably going to get in a relationship with people who are happy that I did. And some of those people are just like waiting. Okay. Even here, like in the Nine of Wands down here, it's like upside down, looking at other people taking this leap of faith. And it's even like the Queen of Swords looking at them, saying upside down, but I'm not going to exchange resources with you. And this could just represent your more immature nature. Your own shadow nature, and some shadowy people in your life, might feel left out in the cold, and they want to be in friendship or relationship with people, and they want you to quit having good boundaries within yourself. They don't want you to work through feeling betrayed and freeing yourself from things that manipulate you. They want you to give that up and come back over here, and let's get in our lack mentality. Let's be manipulated by our poor, pitiful me, and I feel left out in the cold, and I'm sad. Let's go get in a relationship with someone to make me feel better. And there could be people who would, at any time, any of us could probably go out in the world, and if we wanted to get in a relationship or have a fling, we could, right? But the people who want to be in a relationship, some of the people, are people who have that same lack mentality, or they're just more about the world, not balance, not, the Five of Pentacles can represent our worldly nature. The other Five of Pentacles can represent our hopeful, believing, loving nature. And some people are like, no, I don't do, in the Six of Pentacles, I don't do equal give and take between those two. I'm not balanced. I am tipped in favor of, I love being in relationships. I love indulging myself in relationships, but they could be very immature, is what the Nine of Wands is, Sagittarius energy. And in reverse, they can mean extreme. So some people are very immature and do not have good boundaries within themselves, or even to themselves, and they indulge themselves in repeating some poor past patterns. They really don't want to do equal give and take. The Six of Pentacles has Taurus in it, just like the Empress. In their philosophy of life, they're having a dandy time living their life like this. They don't want to have to put up better boundaries within themselves to their own immature nature. They like to indulge their more immature nature, or poor, pitiful me, or immature nature. They could be a shadowy Taurus energy. Both the 5 and the 6 are Taurus. They could be very materialistic, want people to indulge them, but they don't want to do more equal give and take. So that's where shadowy people can try to present themselves as more high vibe to get a more person who's motivated by love to come get in a relationship with them. And then it's kind of more about, you give to me, and then you should stay in a relationship. You shouldn't stay balanced within yourself. Let's get in an imbalanced relationship. You give, I take. You be just and fair and loving, and let me be not. Let's do that. That's my idea of equal give and take. So it's kind of like this completely upside down way of looking at life from your perspective. And some of those people are very much maybe about themselves or the world in shadowy Aquarius, which is also represented by the star card, which in shadow of the bottom row could be that they are more about themselves or the world. And some extremely so, kind of like they could have a harsh critical inner voice that tells them, you're not going out there and going to go do love, you get hurt out there. And it's like their emotionally self-protective defensive nature. And even so, even their more hopeful, believing, loving nature that's within them, it's like they don't let that part of them come out to play. It's like, nope, we don't defend that position. We've maybe been hurt before. The Queen of Swords can talk that emotionally people have been hurt before, and they're not getting hurt again. They're not going to do love again. They tried love before, it didn't work out, that's it. They're done. They're going to not put themselves back out there again. They're not going to get hurt again. And so then it is where it's more like, I'm going to operate from my ego. Can I want to be in friendship and relationship with people? Yeah, but I'm not doing love. It's going to be more about my own self-interests and me. So they very much could be people who do not know how to work with people cooperatively in the 3 of Pentacles reverse, and very much up in their head. But yet they don't want to see the truth. If they're willing to put in some work and effort, is what the 3 of Pentacles and High Vibe would talk about, to free themselves from some of these things that have them all up in their head, their own issues or people in their life that were shadowy, they could free themselves, but they'd have to be inspired within themselves to tell themselves, I don't want, and this is kind of what you and some other people in the world have done, because we all could have been there at different times in our life, but the difference is the other people did get inspired within themselves. And the 5s talk about change. I want things to change. I want to give birth to something else. And yeah, I might have a lack mentality. I might indulge myself in some ways that don't really work out for me. But I haven't given up on loving and believing in myself. And even if I didn't have good boundaries, and even if I was out of balance, and even if I did have a harsh critical inner voice, and even if I could have had people that didn't work cooperatively with me in a just and fair and loving way, and that could have really put me up in my head, especially if it was people who at one time I had viewed as more just and fair and stable and grounded and loving people, and then, that everybody's got free will, and you never know when some people are going to decide or slowly over time kind of drift their life off into the ditch or something, and the other people decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then the Five of Pentacles can be, I'm going to detach from that foundation. If I have people in my life that are kind of shadowy, immature, hurtful, unkind, don't have good boundaries, if I didn't, I don't want to live my life like that anymore. And I see the truth. I hold the key to freeing myself. Love is the answer. And I'm going to get inspired to love myself. And I'm going to quit indulging my more immature Sagittarius energy and this philosophy of life that I had in my Taurus energy, thinking that was the answer, that was the solution. It's like, no, I've already done that, and I found out that was not, like, the truth. That was not a good idea. And I see I need to stop that. And maybe also work through my own past pain and heartbreak that makes me defensive or being, hurt or angry or in my ego or my fear. I'm going to offer love to all those aspects of myself. I thought a dream was going to come into reality. I thought people were going to do more equal give and take, and people didn't, and I maybe didn't want to see the truth of it. The Eight of Swords is Gemini energy, that everybody has the free will to live their life and be inspired by their more worldly Gemini nature of self, or their more high vibrational, hopeful and believing in love nature. And I need to see the truth that some people in my life, they don't want to work together with me cooperatively from love, because that's not what motivates and inspires them. So I need to, the people in my life that want me to be in this shadowy energy and I don't want to be in that shadowy energy or be in a relationship with people in that shadowy energy, I'm going to offer love to myself to work through all of that so I can go on this new journey. And some people, you did that while you were in a relationship. You could have just worked through some immaturity, some defensiveness, some fears and insecurities of having more hope and faith and belief in yourself, healing from past pain and heartbreak. And even while you were in some of those environments, you could, whether they were shadowy or not shadowy, you could have done some of that work within yourself, and you did get more healed and balanced within yourself and learn to love yourself. And that's then when some people that you could have been moving forward with at any point in time in your life could have been like, wait a minute, you kind of used to be in this energy. And when you were in this energy, I was happy to be in a relationship with you. But now you're here and you kind of want to give birth to something new. And I want to keep doing this. And that's when some of those people we're in a relationship with don't want to do that. And they're like, no, I want to go. I'm still in this zone. I'm still in this mode. I didn't know you were going to work through those things. I didn't know you were going to look at life from a higher perspective. I didn't know you were going to work through your immature nature or your defensive nature or being up in your head about loving yourself or being more bold and brave and confident or getting balanced. I don't want to get balanced. And some of those people in your life, they do have a more worldly philosophy of life, want to be in friendship or relationship, could enjoy friendship or relationship, but they could just want to keep repeating this, staying in their comfort zone, basically. Don't really want to give birth to anything new. You might want to give birth to something new, or it would require them to do that work within themselves too, and deal with the truth of some of these things that, again, it takes work and effort. And some people are like, you can go, I'll go find someone else to go get in a relationship with. And some of those people are currently aligning with different people and friendship groups or romantic relationships. And while they are doing that, you're giving birth to something new with the people in your life who did move forward with you in that way. The new people you meet as you move forward. So let's see what is coming up for people who harness a more high vibe Sagittarius energy. What's coming up for them that they might not see coming? That you don't see coming. The King of Wands. Why? Because of the Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups is Pisces energy. And it's also, the tens talk about closing out a cycle because there's a maximum of 10 in every suit. And we can get close to that, and then we could go repeat an old pattern. And sometimes we've all gotten close to the opportunity to go take that new job. Go be more bold and brave and confident. Communicate with someone, and it was that new opportunity. But again, if our fear of stepping outside of our comfort zone or loving and believing in ourselves, or we haven't worked through some past issues of people in our life who maybe could have belittled and berated us, from people in our family to life experiences. Some people worked through it. They completed the cycle. They are now in the King of Wands energy, or will be ready to take that action. And just like you're doing that, there's other people in the world. People you could know, people you don't know. People you'll meet as you keep listening to your intuition and moving forward. You're kind of waiting for the people that are more inspired in high vibe Pisces, which is part of the Fool, who are motivated and inspired more by love, truth, justice, fairness, being authentic, having some hope and faith and belief in yourself and in others and in love, versus people who might want to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship, and then it can, in shadowy fire sign energy, male or female, more just indulging themselves in it. Well, I want to be in one, don't you? We should be friends, or we should be in a relationship. And it's like, I could do that, but then I'd be giving up my dream. And some people will go do that just to maybe feel better. But then they could get in a relationship with other people who are happy they're in that energy, and they don't want them going anywhere. But they also don't plan to change. So shadowy energy can be where it's like dead and stagnant. They're not giving birth to anything new. And there too, sounds harsh when I say dead and stagnant, but anybody can live their life whatever way they want. Do they ever want to give birth to anything new? Do they want to kind of do other activities or look at life from a higher perspective, or free themselves from some things that manipulate them? Some people don't, and they're perfectly happy living their life like that. It's just, just like a workplace can have a certain way of acting and treating people, and some of those people, who's more happy being in kind of maybe a little more stagnant or shadowy relationship? People where it more benefits them. But other people could kind of feel left out in the cold and feel manipulated. And some of the other people, it's like, well, I don't care. You're not leaving, right? You could have a bad supervisor at a boss, and the company for some reason isn't going to fire them. Well, that supervisor doesn't give a damn about the people who work there. It has to be more about me. Everybody's got to kind of more indulge me. Oh, I keep telling people we're going to do something new, but we don't. And I tell them I might change, but I don't. And it's just like people in friendships and relationships do that too. And they don't. Some of them don't care because they're okay with it. It works for them. They're not the one who feels left out in the cold and manipulated. And that's kind of a more shadowy relationship, though. It's not just and fair and inspired by love, and that's a shadowy Taurus relationship. It's more being in the relationship for how it benefits you in your more worldly nature, even though you could be a loving person. But it's really a little bit more about them. More their way or the highway. A little bit more about them being indulged. And that's why some of you got out of it. And you're listening to your intuition, putting in, going on this new journey, maybe seeing some people in your life that inspire you to love and believe in yourself and seem more stable and grounded, and you're putting in the work to be on that same energy. And maybe with some of those people as time goes by, whether they're a friend or a coworker or a neighbor, and just maybe kind of getting to know each other, that over time maybe you will become better friends or get to know each other more if it's a romantic interest. But it'll be with people who are more on the same page as you. We're talking about Sagittarius energy up here. Sagittarius energy. This is Leo. This is Aries. All three of the fire sign energy. People who in their fire sign nature are more inspired to grow, heal, mature themselves, temper their ego, not try to control and manipulate people, wanting and inspired to work together with people cooperatively from love. And some other people, they just don't even get that philosophy of life. They just think those people are putting on a good show, because all they could do is try to manipulate people to get what they want for however it benefits them. So what's coming up? I think the people who take action in truth and love, that's what you're working and taking action on from truth and love, and inspired to listen to truth and love, is going to get you in that energy to go take action in your life in alignment with your truth. So that is what you will manifest. What are some of the people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy? What's coming up for them they might not see coming? The Nine of Pentacles, the Ten of Cups, the Judgment card. And the reason is because of the Seven of Cups. So kind of being more caught up in ourselves or in the world is kind of a more shadowy Scorpio energy of being caught up in the illusion of the world, and that's also a more shadowy Pisces energy. Emotionally caught up in yourself or these things of the world that you think will make you happy, being full of yourself, caught up in the world. No, I'm sure if I indulge in this or make my life about this or make it all about me, I'm sure I'll be happy. And some people could be, the people who are wearing a false mask in the world, who try to present themselves as much more motivated and inspired by love than they are. People, and they could be attractive or charming or whatever. There's going to be people who are attracted to other people, and people can buy into the illusion. But the people who could be attracted to them and kind of caught up in the illusion of who they are, could view them thinking they harness a more high vibe Virgo energy, but they don't. High vibe Virgo is about freeing yourself from things that manipulate you and doing this inner work to be more independent. But these people could be single. They could be abundant in some way, in their charm, their looks, their status, their image, their social clout, whatever, So people are going to view them as someone who they feel is very abundant, that has learned these lessons in life. And initially, they can be very happy kind of in the relationship because for quite a long time, and again, some people wear a very good false mask, it does seem maybe very just and fair and loving and encouraging. Until the other people who get in a relationship with them do some of their own inner work and call judgment on some of the things that have manipulated them, and they free themselves. And they're ready to kind of move forward differently. Or they go through a phase of a relationship, and then just like we kind of grow and heal and mature ourselves, if it's like a romantic relationship, High Vibe Leo is a more deep, meaningful relationship based on truth and love. But the other people are like, no, I turn my back to the Two of Cups. I do not align with my more loving nature. I'm more emotionally manipulated by my more worldly, egoic nature. And that's when, again, people could realize the dream really isn't going to come into reality. People might marry people, but it's never going to be a more just, fair, deep, meaningful relationship. It will not grow to that extent over time. Or they really just want to be single, male or female, indulge in it, the perks of being in it, but never, it's like the illusion that the dream will come into reality, that it will become a more long-term, formal, kind of committed relationship. And once they start to realize either the other people are ready to move it to the next level and they're like, oops, time to go, or the other people heal or grow, mature themselves, and get out of some issues that were manipulating them, and they feel different. So that's kind of the difference, where high vibe people who are motivated and inspired by love, even though you could have your fears and your insecurities and your immaturities or whatever to work through, you are motivated and inspired by love, and you can get in a relationship with someone who seems like you have met someone who's like you, because they could seem more stable, more grounded, more balanced, more mature, more loving than other people you've went out with. The only thing is they want you to be more codependent on them. It's like wanting to play the role of like being a loving energy in your life, but it's kind of like they want to be God in your life in a way. You can grow and heal and mature yourself somewhat, but I don't really want you to become more independent and close out a cycle of being more codependent on me and caught up in the illusion of me, where you're kind of inspired within yourself. Because then you'd want me to do that and give birth to something new. And they don't want to do that. They like playing this role in people's lives. And you could have a friend who likes to play that role in people's life. You could have been in a romantic interest or a marriage with people who like to play that role in people's life. But they themselves, that is the relationship dynamic. Like, if you feel left out in the cold and other people have been hurtful or unkind, yes, I want to be your friend. Or you got to have a relationship or a marriage, yes, I want to play that role in your life. I love people viewing me like, it kind of reinforces that, that they're that kind of person within themselves. And to a degree, they are. But they themselves are never willing to become independent and close out a cycle with kind of being either their own lack mentality, other people that manipulate them, their ego, their more immature nature, self-indulgent nature, being full of themselves nature. Whatever it is, they don't ever want to become independent of that. So again, it's like the relationship kind of hits a dead end. And if you do this work within yourself and you're kind of ready to move forward and give birth to something new, they're like, oh, damn, I guess the relationship has come to an end. I'm not doing that. So you go ahead, and I'm going to go back, go find a different friend, go find a different romantic interest, because I'm not willing to do that. This is the role I like to play in people's life. So, not really wanting to give birth to something new. Or something new within how they live their life. And with some people in our life, we kind of go on different journeys. Some people, what they want to give birth to, maybe you're ready to go do other things, and other people are, not everybody in our life is shadowy, but for the people that are shadowy, they kind of like the illusion of seeming more independent and motivated by truth and love, but really that's just an illusion. It's really kind of more indulging themselves in relationships. And it really could be more about the ego and the image and the status, which in shadowy Scorpio, it's more superficial and shallow. It's more being in the relationship because they don't want to not be in a relationship, like to be in a relationship, oh, but I don't really want to do love. And it just doesn't and eventually the next people who get in a relationship with them will move on. Now, the other way this could be applied to is like in a workplace. Say there's kind of high vibe people at a workplace, and someone comes along and wants to work there, and they take that leap of faith, and they're going to be loving and encouraging and supportive to them. But the other people, like, it never moves beyond this. And again, that's like having an employee come in and it's like, no, I just want to do this, and you be loving and encouraging, and I want to, even though those people, it depends on what kind of job you apply for, right? But I mean, you'd expect that, yes, I expect that you can do this level of a job, but they maybe can. But if they really wanted to hire them for them to maybe be a little more flexible, maybe take on more responsibilities, maybe let someone else learn those things, so you have people who kind of move up and know more things. Some people got in it, created the illusion, oh yeah, I'm willing to do that, but they keep doing this. And eventually, an employer might have to call judgment on some of those people. I think, or if you want to work here, you have like capped out. This is where you're going to be. And we're going to look to other people or hire someone else to kind of do the job that we wanted you to work your way into. But you seem to be a good fit here, and if you're okay with that, you can stay there. And some of those people just have these illusions about themselves. They don't really want to put in the work and effort. They want reward without effort. They harness this energy in a shadowy way. I want to work here. I want to keep like getting promoted and making more money. Can't we make some other people do the work, and I can just kind of be indulged because, of my job experience or my degree or whatever? And the employers could be like, I think there's some other people here who have shown and are willing to take on more responsibility and could have some job experience and some degree or whatever, that I think they have shown an aptitude and an interest in wanting to learn more. And we have tried, and we've had to keep giving your stuff to other people because you don't get it done. But yet you want to keep making more money and have more responsibility while other people do the work. I think we're going to let some of the people who are willing to do the work get the job and the salary, and you'll stay there. And of course, they'll maybe be too much in their ego to stay. So then they'll just go try to find somebody else to manipulate and try to do as little as possible to be indulged and make the money they want to make. But they're not inspired within themselves to, you're either inspired within yourself to want to put in work and effort because you've learned, and having done it, that makes you feel proud of yourself. The other people, sadly, could kind of feel proud of themselves the more they get out of. It's kind of like a little, did you see how I didn't have to do that? Did you see how they made that other person do it? And did you see how they're still not willing to fire me yet? And do you see how they keep thinking what I bring to the table is important? And it's the same way of like being in a shadowy relationship with some people. It's like they almost try to build their self-esteem of trying to get as much as they can get by giving as little as they can give. And, that to them is like a win. And what they don't realize is that is really going to backfire on them one day. And why weren't they willing to put in more work and effort? Either they just lack boundaries, lack ambition. But it could be a thing of, they could have a harsh, critical inner voice, but that's for them to work through. But also maybe a fear that, well, if I were to show I could do this or this or this, people would expect more of me, and I don't want people to expect more of me. And other people, they do it, they feel proud of themselves, they feel accomplished, they become a more abundant person because they know how to do more things, and they feel proud of themselves for even trying and failing and trying again, that they're just a much more stable, grounded, confident person. And eventually the people who tried to cheat the justice system basically could kind of realize that it didn't work out for them. And ultimately, they kind of probably will end up being surrounded by people who are more like them. And the people who were willing to take those leaps of faith to work through these issues that manipulate them and choose to love and believe in themselves and take accountability for their actions, get out of their ego, those are the people that are going to not feel in lack because they're so stable and abundant within themselves and have enough in the world. And for some people in the world, enough is never enough. They could have loving people in their life. That's not enough. You need to make it more about me. Or, for the people who don't do this work within themselves, enough is never enough. Well, I want more. And I want more attention. Or I want to be more bossy and controlling. I want to be more lazy. I want to be more indulged. And eventually, the more high vibe people in their life that didn't want to maybe get out of a friendship or relationship with them just can't keep indulging in the illusion anymore and staying in denial of the truth. I need to go. And those people go. And they do this work within themselves because they don't want to get in a situation like that again. And then the shadowy people are probably the people who are mad. How dare those people not indulge me? How dare those, because they don't want to see the truth. They don't want to see how they indulge themselves. They don't have a problem with it. They're happy. They don't understand why other people have a problem with it. Well, some of those people might end up need to go get in relationships with other people more at their emotional maturity level and see how they like it. They could think it's just and fair in this shadowy philosophy of life. Well, if I have more status, more image, more money, more social clout, more attractive or whatever, you should indulge me. It's like, how about you go indulge someone and see if you like it? And some of those people could have thought they were willing to go do that. And then they could have found out they didn't. Because will it get me the status, the image, the money? Or other people still trying to change other people? Trying to change people who've already shown them they're shadowy? The high vibe people have learned those lessons. I'm not going to try to change anybody anymore. They're either a more emotionally mature, stable, grounded, loving person, or they're not. And if they're not, bummer. But yeah, I'm not going to get in a more involved relationship with you, if you've already shown me that's the type of person you are. Already been there, done that. If this isn't your truth, then so sad. But I'm moving on. So some people right now could kind of be in their ego a little bit and feel left out in the cold because they maybe were kind of full of themselves, aren't willing to be more authentic, or they got themselves involved in some situations that they shouldn't have gotten themselves involved in. Then they could meet people they'd really like to be in a relationship with, but because they wanted to feel better, it's kind of like the devil tempting us. Don't you want to feel better? You don't have to do that. You don't have to listen to your intuition. Go ahead and go do that. And then they get themselves in something that could be kind of even miserable that they'd like to become independent of, but those people could be too more tempted in their worldly nature and have a harder time giving those things up. Everybody can have a hard time getting out of a friendship or relationship or giving up stability or security or get up in their head kind of about what other people would say. High vibe energy is, between me and God, I know the truth. And I know if I have acted in a just and fair and loving way and other people aren't, then I have a clear conscience. The world can judge away. And other people are like, oh no, this certain status or image, even if basically the other people are kind of committing fraud in the relationship. So there's some people right now who are trying to emotionally manipulate people, loving people or other people. People who are loving, or people who have things of the world, or just to stay in a relationship with them. And it's up for those people to decide if they're going to do that or not. Some other people already moved on, and those people are going to be happy they did when they worked through the illusion And those people are going to go have a new beginning that will make them very happy. And the shadowy, worldly people and whoever decides to keep aligning with them could just be more happy, making their life more about the world. And if they do, then they could be very happy because that's our truth. They have no interest in looking at life from a higher perspective and freeing themselves from their more worldly Gemini view of life. They think they're living the dream. And they, as far as they're concerned, could be. Other people are like, no. That's a little tipped out of balance and more about you or those things of the world. I think I'll be more happy in a more balanced, inspired, loving. But if you want to make it more about you or those things of the world, whatever, you do that. That's your choice. Enjoy. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.